participants. So first of all, thank you very much for showing your interest for this particular webinar. And on behalf of IEEE Antenna Propagation Society, Kerala chapter, I extend my hearty welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Arani Ali Khan, who is also a very good friend of mine. And thank you, Dr. Arani, for agreeing my request to deliver a talk.
My pleasure.
And also that is also from your busiest schedule to grace this type of occasions. Thank you so much. So without wasting much time, I would request Dr. Arani to start his talk. And before that, I would again request to all participants, please kindly mute your microphones so that the speaker can deliver the talk very nicely without any background noise.
Thank you, Sukamalda. So now we can begin with this discussion, this presentation. So my presentation is on the implementation of high performance microwave filters and how we can extend that work to design and development some filtering antennas. So mostly it will be on filter design, then I will extend it to the antenna designing. This will be the outline of this talk. First of all, I will discuss some basic design approach of one microwave filter. Then I will discuss some coupling scheme for high performance, high frequency filters. After that, I will discuss some cross coupled filters. Then finally, we will discuss on filtering and duplexing antennas. So let's start. First, the basic of one filter. The fundamental component we need to design or development one filter is a resonator. Now, the resonator may be on planar microstrip line, then cavity like SIW or waveguide. So for high performance and very low insertion loss with very high frequency, waveguide is the most preferred one, but it is bulky. At the same time, the implementation cost of waveguide filter is quite high. Where we need very compact designing, we go for microstrip or other planar structures. So first of all, we have to design one resonator. All of you know there are many theories and mathematical calculations on filter design, but I will discuss only those practical design approach of one microwave filter. First of all, what we have to do, we have to design a resonator. Most commonly, the resonators may be half wavelength resonator or quarter wavelength resonator in microstrip line, CPW, then TE101 cavity, and some higher order cavities are also used for waveguide resonators. Throughout this talk, I will discuss the filtering structures based on microstrip line and SIW. Now the one question is why I have included SIW. I may have included waveguide too, but SIW has one advantage, that is in our country, all the institutes may not have that facility to implement waveguide filters, but waveguide is the ultimate component if you are dealing with microwave and higher frequencies. But the SIW is very easy to implement and you can fabricate with simple PCB technology to implement any SIW component with low cost, and you can verify in your lab. But the property of SIW is quite similar to waveguide. So you can have that design approach in SIW, which you can further extend to waveguide. Once we have a proper resonator designed, then the parameter you have to keep in your mind to design or implement one filter is external quality factor. External quality factor is basically the external quality factor is basically the measure of how much energy we are feeding to the cavity or resonator from the outside network. If external quality factor is high, that means less energy is being fed to the resonator, and if external quality factor is low, then higher energy will be fed to the resonator. Then it comes to quality factor, that means unloaded quality factor QU. Here I have written external Q factor QU, but it is actually unloaded quality factor. So unloaded quality factor QU is the measure of loss of one resonator. If QU is high, that means the resonator is less lossy. If QU is low, then resonator is lossy. Next is coupling. Coupling means the energy is getting coupled between two resonators, that is commonly denoted by K, or in some book or papers you can find out M. Now the question is how we will determine these parameters. So first we will proceed with external quality factor Q external. How we can extract this with full wave simulator. Figure 1A is the structure that is called hairpin microstrip resonator, and B1B is TE101 SIW resonator. Now you can see the 50 ohm feeding line is there. It is feeding the SIW cavity as well as the microstrip line. And this length of the microstrip hairpin resonator is lambda by 2. Lambda is the resonant frequency. There is one offset T from one end of the resonator. If we change this T, energy coupling to this resonator will vary. So if we make T equal to 0, that means this feeding line at one end of the resonator, then maximum energy will be coupled. Why? Because at these two open ends, the electric field will have maxima. If you go for the field plot of one resonator, you can find that, you can see that. And that is also the boundary condition here. So if we fed the microstrip line at any one of the end of this microstrip hairpin resonator, maximum energy will be coupled, because at the maximum electric field it will have, we are feeding the line at that point. So maximum energy will be coupled. If we feed this microstrip feed line to the mid plane of this hairpin microstrip resonator, then here is actually electric field 0. But forcefully we want to make it maximum with this feeding line. If we fed at the mid of this hairpin resonator, then what will happen? Ideally 0 energy will be coupled. That means the external quality factor will be infinity. So no power will be coupled to this resonator from the external circuitry. Similarly, in SIW resonator, if we increase the feeding gap WF, then we are allowing more energy flow inside the cavity. So if we increase WF, then external quality factor will decrease. If we decrease WF, then external quality factor will increase. And one more point you can see, the width of microstrip resonator line width may not be equal to 50 ohm line width, because we optimize this width for maximum unloaded quality factor, that means low loss. So if you take this width of the microstrip line resonator high, then it will be prone to radiate. So leakage loss will become more. If you make this width very narrow, then what will happen? Current density will become very high, and that will be leading to higher ohmic loss. So we have to optimize that width of resonator line so that we can achieve maximum unloaded quality factor of the resonator. So that is the first task to implement one filter. We have to optimize one resonator for minimum loss. Then we have to find out the proper external quality factor and how we can tune that. We have to grow that idea. Next one, if you simulate this structure of figure 1A or 1B, you will get this type of plot. So we are plotting here the group delay with frequency. So at the resonant frequency, you will get maximum group delay. That means at resonant frequency, the energy will flow inside the resonator, and other frequency will be rejected. So the group delay will be maximum at resonant frequency. There is another technique. You may have a look at the deep of S11 instead of the group delay, but that may not provide very accurate result because the loading effect can change that S11. So this is the most appropriate way you find out the group delay, and this red line is showing the phase of S11. So at resonant frequency, suppose we have phase phi 0. So we have to find out 2 points where the phase is phi 0 plus 90 degree and phi 0 minus 90 degree, and denote those two frequencies. Phi, that means where the phase is phi 0 minus 90 and phi 0 plus 90. Now external quality factor you can compute by f naught by delta f. F naught is the resonant frequency and a delta f is the difference between those two frequencies where the phase is plus 90 degree more and at 90 degree less than that at the resonant frequency. So we can determine external quality factor with this technique. Next one is the coupling between two resonators. Figure 3a and 3b shows the resonators, two resonator layout. Fig 3a, that is for microstrip line, and figure 3b is for the SIW. So here you can see that one gap G. So from our common sense, we can conclude if we increase G, less energy will be coupled between these two resonators. So if we increase G, coupling will be reduced. If we decrease G, coupling will be increased. Similarly, for the SIW resonator also, if you increase G, more energy will be coupled. If you decrease G, energy coupling will be less. So coupling will increase if we decrease G for microstrip line, and coupling will increase if we increase G for the SIW structure. Now, if we simulate any one of these two structures, then you will get a response like figure 4a. Now, one thing I want to mention here, you can see this is the plot of S21. That means energy flow from port 1 to port 2. And here you can see that the maximum S21 is below minus 20 dB. Here we have to tune one more thing that in many design you may neglect, but you have to construct that design like S21 should be minus 20 degree. How we can do that? In simulation, what we commonly do for this SIW structure, we make WF very small so that minimum energy is getting coupled from input from the outer circuitry to the cavity. What will happen if we decrease WF, then actually the loading of that 50 ohm line is reduced. So if external quality factor is very high, then the loading effect of the line or external line will be less on the resonator, because here we are interested to find out the energy coupling only between two resonators. Here in simulation, what we do for microstrip line, a very narrow gap we put between this feeding line and this resonator. So in that way we keep S21 below minus 20 dB. You should not go for below minus 40 dB, then the energy coupling will be insignificant or very small. It will again not give you very good result. So between minus 15 to minus 30 or minus 25 is recommended. So if you simulate these two structures in ADS or in CST or HFSS, you will get a response like figure 4a. Now you can see the two peaks, F2 and F at frequency F2 and F1. If you obtain this plot, now you can have the coupling as the formula given here, F2 square minus F1 square by F2 square plus F1 square. So we can have a plot of variation of coupling with G. So we plot that actually. So G is plotted in X axis and Y axis we plot coupling. So we will have a variation of G with that, a variation of coupling with that G. So this is our second job. And third one is like this. Once you start the tuning of one filter, I am just showing you the simplest structure of two-pole filter. Whenever you are optimizing one filter, you will have this type of response. You may have this type of response. Figure 5a, here you can see the response. There are two resonators. So we must have two dips in S11, but here you can see only one dip. Under such situation, we call it undercoupled filter. So what we do to get the proper response, we have to increase the external quality factor slightly. If you slightly increase the external quality factor, you will get figure 5b, and this is the appropriate response for one two-pole filter. You can see S11 is below minus 20 dB and S21 is almost minus 1 dB. That 1 dB loss is incorporated by that resonator loss and other losses. So you can see the proper filtering response. Now, if you increase the external quality factor more, you will get 5C. Here you can see that S11, there are two dips, but S11 is around minus 5 dB. That means it is not a well matched filter. We have some S21 that will also have some curvy nature at the pass band, but at pass band we need the flat S21. So here you can see this is called the overcoupled filter. So if you get this type figure 5C, we have to decrease the external quality factor to come at figure B. And if we have figure 5A like response, we have to increase external quality factor a little bit. So we can get the figure 5B. Now we have to characterize the type of coupling. So coupling means energy flow between or energy coupling between two resonators. Now you can see figure 6A and 6B, there are two types of configurations. Here we have kept the two open ends of the resonator nearby. But at figure 6B, the middle plane or the midpoint of the two resonators are brought together. What is the difference between these two structures? So if you take one lambda by 2 line, that is the total length of this type of ring resonator is lambda by 2. So at the open ends, electric field will have that maximum value. So energy coupling between two resonators will be mostly due to that fringing electric fields. And in figure 5B, at the midpoint of the resonator, the electric field is 0, but the current is maximum. So coupling between these two resonators are based on that, due to that current induction. So this type of coupling that is shown in figure 6B is called magnetic coupling, and figure 6A, it is called the electric coupling. Both these two types of couplings are used to design one filter, but they are little bit different. What is the main difference between these two? So the basic difference between electrical coupling and magnetic coupling is the difference of phase. So the phase difference between electric and magnetic coupling is 180 degree. So if you design one coupling properly, if in that coupling equal electric coupling and equal amount of magnetic coupling is present, then the total energy coupling will be 0. Average energy coupling will be 0. So in one filter, we can have electric coupling, we can have magnetic coupling, or we can have both type of couplings. So figure 6C, here is that SIW structure you can see here. So here the line, ring line shown in black, that is one path of the magnetic field. That means this is the line of magnetic field I have shown here for TE101 mode. So the energy coupling between these two resonators here, again due to the high current. That means at the wall the current is maximum because electric field is again zero due to that electric boundary condition. So here the coupling is magnetic in nature. Now you can see this is an example of a 5-pole filter in microstrip line technology. The formula I have written here, Q external equal to G0 G1 by FBW, Q external N, that means suppose it is an N pole filter, so external quality factor at port 1 and port N, that means at input and output, can be expressed like this. And this G0 G1 G2 like Gn plus 1 is the G parameter values for one particular filter, and that values you can find out from any table. If it is a Chebyshev filter, then we will have different G values. If we have Butterworth filter, then different G values. For elliptic filter, we will have different G values, and those are available in and you can find out in any standard filter design book or in any table of that G parameter values. And M, that is the coupling between two resonators, can be expressed as FBW. FBW means fractional bandwidth. Fractional bandwidth can be computed as delta F by F naught. That means bandwidth by center frequency. So we can have these values, and now what we have to do, we have to generate, or we have to design the layout of the filter. So G1, G2, G3, G4 are the physical gaps between the resonators. T1 and T2 are the feeding offset to tune the external quality factor. Now what will be T1? We will have some QE1, and that is a value. We have to tune this T1 from this geometry and figure 2, this computation, so that we can match that QE1. So we will have one plot with of external quality factor with T, then we can find out from that plot what is the value of T1. For what value of T1 we will have the particular external quality factor.
And sir, the gap yeah. G is same, like the gap between the resonators are same, then the formula are different now?
Yeah, those gaps will be different, and that we have to find out. So if we change G, we will change that M value will be changed. That means coupling will be changed. Now we will have proper M values, Mi, I plus 1. That means for first two resonators, coupling is M12, second is M23, M34, M45. For this 5-pole filter, we will have these 4 coupling values. Now, from this structure, figure 3a, we will have one plot of coupling with G. So we can find out the required G from the computed M, right? But one point again you have to remember, the type of resonator you are using, depending on that you have to simulate the or you have to extract the coupling values. So you cannot use, if you use this ring resonator, you cannot have the coupling plot of this hairpin resonator. For hairpin filter, you have to understand, or you have to extract the coupling values for this type of structures. So that you have to keep in mind. Generally what happens at the starting end, higher coupling is required, at the middle, so this is a symmetrical structure. G2 and G3, these two gaps will be same. That means coupling between resonator 2 and 3 will be same as coupling between resonator 3 and 4. And in this figure, I have drawn like that. You can see the difference in gaps. And always you have to maintain a symmetry for any microwave design if you want to avoid any unwanted harmonic response. So if you are a microwave designer, you have to be careful for that symmetric design. So if you simulate this structure, you will have one 5-pole filter, but it will not be the accurate, or you will not get a proper response from those computed coupling values and this G. So what will happen, we will get some response that is very close to a proper 5-pole filter. After that, we have to again retune it for a particular or proper filtering response. That means if you calculate these coupling values with G and external quality factor with T, and you implement the filter, there will be some response which is not the exact 5-pole filter like. There may be some variation of coupling, because those during that computation or during that simulation, you may get some error, or there might be some other inaccuracies. So those things, after this layout, we have to again retune it to get a proper filtering response. So next one is cross-coupled filters. What is cross-coupling? Cross-coupling means there is one direct coupling path and there is one bypass coupling path. How is so what is its advantage? I will describe that in detail, those structures, but what are the advantages? With those structures, we can get transmission zeros. What is transmission zero? You can see the response 8. S21 is suddenly have very low value. That means you can see here, just after that pass band, it drops up to 60 dB. These two dips are called the transmission zeros, because here the transmission is very small. Ideally it is 0, but in practical you will not get 0, but it is very small. And these dips in S21 are called transmission zeros. So if one filter has these transmission zeros, then we will have very sharp cutoff. And in many applications, we need more, in most applications, we need very sharp cutoff of filters, especially for those communication systems where the multiple channels are placed closely, but we need very high channel isolation between two nearby channels. In those cases, these cross-coupling filters are of highest interest because they can give very or provide very high isolation. So first one is called the trisection. Here you can see there are 3 resonators, resonator 1, 2 and 3. Figure 9a, you can see this is called that diagram without any resonator. So in any paper or any book, you can find out this diagram. So R1, R2, R3 are 3 nodes. That means 3 resonators. How they are coupled? R1 to R3, there is one direct coupling path and another coupling path R1 to R3 via R2. So this path is called cross-coupled path, or you can say it is directly coupled R1 and R2, then R2 is directly coupled to R3, and one cross-coupled path between R1 and R3 is like this. So here the continuous line is magnetic coupling and the dashed line is the electric coupling. So in figure 5C, 9C, this is the implementation of this topology A. Here the all couplings are magnetic in nature. So R1 to R2, it is coupling through these arms. So there is no electric field maxima of these 2 resonators. but also the not current maxima, but there is some coupling which is actually magnetic in nature. And here you can see between 1 and 3, it is strongly coupled like magnetic coupling. So, and figure 9D, you can see 1 and 3, they are electrically coupled because at this plane, electric field is maxima, but R1 to R2 and R2 to R3, this coupling is basically magnetic in nature. So this is the implementation of topology B, and C is the implementation of topology A. If you have this type of filtering structures, you can obtain one transmission zero. Topology 9A produces single transmission zero at lower stop band, and topology 9B that will provide you one transmission zero at the upper stop band. I will show the results also. Now, if we want to get two transmission zeros, one in upper stop band and one in lower stop band, what we have to do, we have to cascade these two, means 9C and 9D. So we can get that like figure 10A and 10B. So in these structures, we will have one transmission zero at lower end and one transmission zero at upper end. Upper end means upper stop band and lower stop band. So this is basically cascaded trisection. These structures are called cascaded trisection. Now you can see the response. This is my design filter in SIW technology, but here those similar type of coupling structures is followed. So main coupling path from 1 to 2, and another coupling path, or you can say 1 to 3, another coupling path is like this bypass coupling. You can see the dotted lines. So the response, you can see the transmission zero at the higher stop band. But if you follow this similar structure in microstrip line, you will get in lower stop band. Why? Because that is the difference between the microstrip resonator characteristic and the SIW resonator characteristic. You see, the structure is like this. So here it is at lower stop band, but when we are implementing it in SIW, you will get a higher stop band. So that is simply because the difference of phases between that microstrip line resonator structure and these SIW or waveguide type of resonators. And second one, here you can see these two are TE110 cavities, and this one is the TE102 cavities. So there are two half wavelength variations inside this cavity, so that here all are magnetically coupled structure. All resonators are coupled magnetically. That is true for direct path as well as for the bypass path. Here all couplings are magnetic in nature because they are coupled through that higher current region. But what is happening, the bypass resonator is a TE102 resonator. So one half and second half, when it will come, and the coupling will be through that second half of the resonating mode. So the phase difference, we are making 180 degree here. So in effect, it is like if the direct is magnetic coupling, the bypass is now electric coupling, because the difference of phase between electric and magnetic coupling is simply 180 degree. That is done here by a bigger cavity which actually support T102. Now you can see the transmission zero as at the lower end, lower stop band. So this is asymmetric sharper cutoff, and these type of responses are highly required for duplexer design. So next one is called the quadruplets. Here 4 resonators are there, and you can see the direct path R1, R2, R3 to R4, all are magnetic in nature, but one bypass coupling from R1 to R4 is electric in nature. If you implement this filter in microstrip line or even in SIW also, you will get one transmission zero at lower end, lower stop band, and one at upper stop band. This is called the cascaded, this is called the quadruplet designing. 4 resonators are involved. And this one, figure 14A, is cascaded quadruplet designing. That means here is one quadruplet, 4 resonators, and another 4 resonators, that is another quadruplet units, they are coupled together. So the final filter will be a cascaded quadruplet filter with 8 resonators, and you will get 4 transmission zeros, 2 at lower end and 2 at upper ends. But there is one disadvantage of higher pole filters. If you increase the number of resonators, you are increasing the loss. So there must be a suitable choice between the number of resonators and the required cutoff. So higher resonator will lead to higher sharper cutoff, but at the same time it will introduce higher losses. That's why but here there are 4 resonators. It is giving you some response which is actually sharper. Here is 8 resonators. It is providing you the cutoff which is even more sharper, but we may require some response in between these two from the cutoff point of view as well as from the loss point of view. So in that case, we can have a 6-pole filter like this. So if you simulate the structure figure 13, you will get 2 transmission zeros due to this quadruplet section, and resonator 1 and 6 that will add 2 more poles. So the total number of poles is now 6. So it will have lower loss than the structure shown in figure 14A, but we will have 2 transmission zeros to get a sharper cutoff. So this response of 13 will be in between figure 12 and the filter structure shown in 14. Now, next topic is filtering antennas. So why we need one filtering antenna? Filtering antenna means antenna that actually have some filtering property. So if you have a look on the transceiver architecture, you will see that there is one antenna, then next one is a band select filter for a receiver. So these two are 2 different passive components, antenna and filter. So we have to design separately, then we have to integrate these two. But so that is actually simply increasing the complexity of the system. So if we have one antenna that can also have that band select property, then we can done with one single component. That's why the antenna with filtering characteristics are of great interest for passive circuit designers. Again, you can have a look on figure 15B. So if we are using one single antenna for transmission as well as reception, and that is the most common structure for any transceiver system, but we have to separate the transmission channel and receiving channel, because at transmitter section we have very high power, but at receiver section we have those components which are highly sensitive to power and cannot handle high power. So we must have some separation between TX and RX, and what we use there, either a duplexer. Duplexer is basically a filter bank, and circulator, you know, it will have 3 ports and there will be no power flow from the TX to RX. So TX to antenna, antenna to RX will be there, but there will be no, actually ideally no power flow, but there will be small amount of power flow. So, and that hardware is designed like that. So what are the design challenges for one filtering antenna? The main challenge is we have to design antenna and filter in same structure. So that structure must have the characteristic of antenna as well as filter. So definitely design a filter is difficult as well as designing an antenna also difficult. So we are combining these two difficulties and we are developing one component called filtering antenna, obviously become a very critical or difficult job for design engineers. And next, if we are trying to design one antenna with duplexing characteristic, that means it can separate transmitting channel and receiving channel, then the main design challenge is to create that isolation between transmitting channel and receiving channel. So here are some examples of filtering and duplexing antennas. You can see the figure 16a. This is a simple 3-pole filter. Now that is converted to a antenna with 3 poles. You can see the resonator 1, resonator 2, and the L-shaped antenna is also a resonator. So that is properly coupled with this microstrip resonator 2. Here that extra arm length is there to match the antenna with this resonator, and that matching is basically done by any admittance inverter, or commonly it is termed in filter designing admittance inverter, that is basically performing the matching between the antenna and the resonator. Even you can design some other type of coupling schemes to match this. If you simulate, you can see the response of this structure in figure 16c. The S parameter is shown here on left axis and gain on right axis. So this is a 3-pole system. So there are 3 distinct poles or dips in S11. You can see, and the gain plot also. So it is a filter. Definitely some power will reach the antenna that actually exists between this band. So at that band, it has higher gain, and beyond that band, that may be at higher frequencies or lower frequencies, the gain is decreasing. So this is a very simple design, but it is quite effective. You can see it have very sharp gain fall beyond that band. And this is the radiation pattern of the antenna that is shown in figure 16d. So this is a filtering antenna. Next one, I have already discussed that the transmission zeros. So transmission zeros basically sharpen the rejection. Here, can we design one filter or filtering antenna which actually provide that type of gain response? That means the gain will suddenly decrease or sharply decrease once we move from the band of interest. Here you see the structure 17a, that U-shaped patch of length LP and with WP is used as resonator, and the feeding line you can see here. So the feeding line is first fed to a, I will say this is a 2L structure. This is 1L and this is 1L. So what is happening if we feed power at port 1? Now you can see the antenna is not connected to this feeding line, but instead of direct coupling, the design actually based on the some coupling that is not direct, but it will have some electric coupling between the feed line and the patch antenna. So when we feed at this point, what is happening? This line is resonating at one frequency and this line is resonating at one frequency. So if that happens, then what will happen? If this one is resonating at some frequency, so that energy will not be coupled to the resonator, that is to that antenna. You can see at 4.7 gigahertz and 5.2 gigahertz, the electric field on antenna patch is minimum. Blue color showing minimum electric field, but you can see the red on this feeding structure. That means the feeding line associated with this plus shaped line, the energy is absorbed by that plus shaped lines at 4.7 gigahertz as well as at 5.2 gigahertz. So at these two frequencies, the energy is not reaching to that patch. So there will be no radiation. In figure 18A, you can see the response. So here two resonances are coming due to this structure associated with the feeding line and the patch. So two dips are there, but you will not get any radiation at 4.7 and 5.2. So the radiation is suddenly falling, and the sharp transition of radiation fall, that is similar to a elliptic response. That means the transmission zeros at S21, but here there is no S21 because this is an antenna structure. So we will have that S11 and we will have some gain plot, and the gain is suddenly falling at 4.7 and 5.2 gigahertz, and the passband is centered at 5 gigahertz. And next one is one filtering, so a deplexing antenna. Here it is based on SIW structure. So you can see port 1 and port 2. So this resonator is basically resonating at two frequencies. When you are exciting it with port 1, let's say it is TE102. When we will feed at port 2, it will be 201. So when port 1 is exciting the lower resonator, the port 2 will be at electric minima of that resonant mode. You can see here. So there is no energy flow from port 1 to port 2. So these two ports are isolated. When you excite at port 2, the mode will be TE201. At that time, the electric field distribution will be like this. On the middle plane, it will have electric field 0. So there will be no energy coupling between port 2 and port 1 for the second mode also. Now this is, you can see this is a layered structure. So lower part, that means at the lower bottom layer, you can say the bottom layer, then middle layer, then top layer. So energy coupling between the two layers is through the coupling post 1 and coupling post 2. So the position of those two posts have to be optimized for proper coupling, because we know that proper coupling is a proper filtering response. And at the top plane, there is one slot, and that slot is radiating for two different frequencies. So if you see,
sir, the first coupling post was closed, fully closed.
I didn't get your point. Fully, not closed. You see here, this is one post 1. So it is placed somewhere where there is some electric field values for port 1 excitation, but post 2 is at some farther point and also near to the mid plane. Mid plane means this plane. So the energy coupling through this post is minimum, but this post is creating some coupling. Similarly, you see post 2 will be activated or will be transmitting energy, or will help to couple the energies when the structure is excited at port 2, right?
Yes.
Now this post will involve in coupling, and this post, you can see, is now automatically at that position where there is minimum electric field, ideally 0, but there will be very small electric field. So there will be no energy coupling for this frequency, and these two resonances are at two different frequencies. That means TE102 and TE201 are not same. If it was a square shaped cavity, then TE102 and TE201 would be same, but here it is a rectangular cavity. So TE102 not equal to TE201 here. So port 1 will excitation will create one filter. Port 2 excitation will again create another filter. And you can see here.
What is this coupling post actually?
I can't hear you properly.
So what is this coupling post? Can you please explain it?
Coupling post means suppose it is a SIW structure. So the top plane and bottom plane of one waveguide or SIW is made of conducting material. Now, if you place one more cavity on the top of that conducting plane, there will be no energy coupling, because in between these two there is that copper plane. So how we can make some coupling between these two layers? There are two ways. You cut one slot on that common copper plane, or you drill some via that is actually connecting the bottom plane and the plane on top of that. So that via that metallic post will conduct some current. So actually it will couple the energy from one layer to other layer. Or you can do another thing, simply cut one slot. But here, if you cut slot, then there is high chance that will conduct the energy for both the two excitations. That's why two posts are placed very intelligently. For one mode, it will conduct, and for the other mode, it will not conduct. So finally, it will be giving one filtering type of response. You can see S11 and S22. So two pole structure, but the isolation between these two ports is near 20 dB. So the variation of gain is shown in figure 20B, and figure 20C shows the gain pattern, that means radiation pattern. And this is the final structure I am going to discuss for today's presentation. This is another deplexing antenna, and this is actually my work. So here you can see there is one square cavity. So it will support TE102 and TE201 at the same frequency. Though how that will create one, how it is creating that isolation between these two ports, in detail that you can find out in this published paper referred as 5, but here I will discuss that. So there is one square loop, and you can, not square loops, one rectangular loop, that is actually the rectangular loop slot that actually support the radiation at these two frequencies. You can see the S11 and S22. One is at 9.5 gigahertz and another one is at 10.5 gigahertz. So this is a highly symmetric cavity. Square structure means highly symmetric cavity. But how we are separating those two frequencies? The loading is playing the crucial role here. You can see this A and B are different. So the structure is now not symmetric. Once you have a look from port 1, it will see A. When you will look from port 2, you will see B dimension in front of the port. So from port 1 and port 2, it is now a asymmetric structure. So TE102 and TE201 are now slightly different. If you make changes in A and B, you can change these two frequencies. So figure 22B and C shows the variation of those two frequencies. For if you change A, you can change F210 more. If you change B, you can change F120 more. Now, how these things are happening, all the details are provided in that paper. Those points I am not going to discuss here. You can go through that. But the fundamental design approach is like this: one symmetric cavity, T102 and 201 are same, but we have placed one asymmetric slot, and that is helping that frequency separation. And here you can see the isolation is around minus 27 to 28 dB at the band of interest. So here you can see the radiation patterns. Cross pole level is good, quite good, and that is also due to that very symmetric slot actually. Symmetric slot means from the radiation point of view it is symmetric, not from the geometrical point of view. Here it is not symmetric from both those two ports, but if you look at the modes and fields for one particular frequency, then it is symmetric. So here you can see the cross pole and copole response. So what the main advantage of one duplexing and filtering antenna design? First of all, we do not need any extra bandpass filter or duplexer in a transceiver system. So it will cut down the cost at the same time, it will reduce the complexity of that system and the system will be more compact. And for filtering antennas, you can see, for a simple example, this one, if you take one single resonator as an antenna, then you will not get this wide band. This band widening is due to these coupled structures. There are 3 resonators and the total structure is now a coupled structure. That's why the band is now enhanced. You can see here the bandwidth is quite high, and that you cannot get with one microstrip patch antenna or microstrip dipole antenna. So this broadening of band is a very interesting or very attractive property of any filtering antenna. So in this structure, you see this is one of my design, and further it is modified in another paper that is not included in this presentation. I added one more cavities at port 1 and port 2, and that actually improves the isolation because higher order filter provide higher rejection. At the same time, that coupled structure will increase the bandwidth. So that's all for today's presentation, and due to this time boundation, I cannot discuss for, other related works. But these are the basic ideas between filter implementation of the filter implementation and how we can convert one filtering structure to a radiating structure. So for further reading, you just search in IEEE Explore, you will get many other papers. These are some fundamental works I have included here. So thank you for all of your attention. And also I would like to thank Sukomalda for giving me the opportunity to describe these works and share the experience with all of you. So thank you for your attention once again. And now I am opening this session for any discussion or any questioning.
Thank you, Dr. Arani. Thank you so much for such a nice talk and nice explanations throughout. And I do believe that it has already enlightened our minds. So I will go for a few question and answer session.
Yeah, sure.
And the first question that was asked that what should be the typical values of K and Q external for designing?
Okay, so let's move to that part. If you want to talk about Q, there are 2 Qs. One is Q external and another one is QU, that is unloaded quality factor. Unloaded quality factor we want as high as possible, because higher unloaded quality factor will lead to lower insertion loss. So that is a fixed property of one particular resonator. You cannot change that. You can optimize that for maximum, but once it is designed, you cannot change that. Now, external quality factor is the measure of the energy that is flowing inside the resonators from the outer circuitry. If external quality factor is high, that means low energy coupling, and low external quality factor means high energy coupling. Now let's come to the point K, coupling. Coupling between the 2 resonators, higher coupling will be indicating higher energy coupling between these 2 resonators. So what should be the typical values, and that value depends on the bandwidth. If the bandwidth of a filter is high, then coupling K should be high and external quality factor should be low. If bandwidth is narrower, then coupling between two resonators, that is denoted by K or M, whatever, that will be lesser, and the external quality factor at the same time will be higher. So narrow band means lower energy flow from outer circuit as well as lower coupling between the resonators. And higher bandwidth means higher energy coupling from external circuit, that means lower Q factor, external Q factor, and higher coupling between the resonators. That is the fundamental thing of one filter designing.
Sir, can I add, myself has asked that question, can I add something more to that?
What?
Yes, I do have another question regarding this. See,
you ask.
So actually there were two type of coupling you have provided, in the sense in the case of
magnetic and electric.
Yes, sir. Apart from that, for the first resonator, it is connected. Other one, it was the trisectional filter. It was an electrical coupling also. From the first,
okay, trisection you see.
So from the port, I'm asking him with respect to the port. The first resonator one you have in the right side, you have a direct connection, and the first one. C.
Okay. Figure C, 9C and 9D, like right?
Yeah.
So
how
figure 9D is called tap feeding.
Yeah.
Okay, that means that 50 ohm line is directly connected to the resonator.
Yes,
that is a type of feeding, and in figure 9C, that is also a type of feeding. So here in 9D, you can control external quality factor by this distance from the open end, or you can take the distance from the mid plane also. And here you can change the external quality factor by changing the gap between the feeding line and the resonator. And
so, in
common in our thumb of rules, what we do, at the feeding point we make the line narrower, almost half of the 50 ohm line width.
Okay. So one more thing, sir, is there any criteria in selecting these type of the difference between these two, whether which one is most suitable like that?
In general, tap feeding structures are commonly used where we need low quality factor.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, how can we achieve multi-band filter?
Multi-band,
configuration.
If you want to talk about multi-band filter, then multi-band means one resonator we will use, but it will resonate at different frequencies. So the resonator actually have that property of multi-resonating modes. Now, if you take any one resonator at F0, it is resonating. So approximately at 2F0, you will get the second harmonic, right? In 3F0, you will get the third harmonic. But in our application, the band of interest may not be at 2F0 or 3F0. So in that case, what we do, there is one technique that is called a stepped impedance resonator, and that is a very interesting technique in designing multi-band filters in microstrip line. So using that another technique is multi-mode resonators. So multi-mode resonators means one resonator is resonating at different frequencies due to their geometrical configurations. So, but the most commonly we use stepped impedance resonators, and you can find out multi-band designing. I also have some work on dual band resonators in SIW. But in waveguide or SIW, designing that is difficult one, but in microstrip line, it is very easy. Using stepped impedance resonator, you can do that, or you can use some T-type or L-type of, you can find out many literatures on that, on multi-mode resonators. So depending on your need, you can choose or you can design one resonator which actually have those multiple. But mostly it is actually very convenient to design with stepped impedance microstrip resonator.
And sir, how can we get the insertion loss in HFSR or CST, sir?
That is completely simulation technique. So insertion loss means that is S21. You can directly get it in S parameter plots.
So one more question, sir.
Yeah.
As far as this resonator, see, if I want to get the a resonance of a single resonator,
Yes.
in the case of D,
In the case of figure 9.
Yeah, figure 9D. If I have
Okay.
only one resonator, say a resonator 1, and I want to get the the resonant frequency, or that's the lambda by 2 resonant frequency of
total length of length of that resonator will be equal to lambda by 2.
Which kind of feed should I use, in the sense whether if I use a loosely coupled thing or if it's a tapped thing, whether that frequency varies.
So that depends on your, again, that depends on your application. So if your filter needs very high quality factor, then you can adopt one type of feeding. If you need low quality factor, you can adopt another type of feeding. So what happens in 9C, there is one limitation to create this gap. This gap, even getting 0.1 mm gap is difficult in normal etching process.
Yes.
Right. For those high performance CNC machine, you can get 50 micron.
Yeah.
But if that gap is also not sufficient for obtaining the low quality factor as low you required in your design, then it is better go for tap feeding.
Okay.
So that is another point. So everything depends on your application.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And again, I would like to say that in many books, in all filter books, you will get many mathematical calculations and polynomials, everything. But the only way to become a very efficient filter designer is you have to be very good with this design practice. Those mathematics will give you some idea, but all the simulations I have shown here are actually required for filter implementation. And unless and until you do these things with those mathematics, you cannot implement a filter properly.
Okay.
You have to be skilled with all these simulations.
Okay.
Sir, is there any thumb of rule for the modes, like which mode we want to excite or kind of stuff, like T0, T1, 01 and kind of stuff?
That depends on applications, but mostly we want to work at fundamental frequencies. That means for one microstrip resonator, it should be at lambda by 2. For waveguide or SIW resonator, we actually or commonly we use TE110. But for some typical applications, I have already shown one structure or two structures in deplexing antenna design that is also have some filtering property. They used the second order resonance. That means F102 or F201, whatever you say. So that depends on application, which mode actually will perform our job properly. And that is the smartness of the designer. So which resonator the designer is choosing. Higher order modes have some advantages, like you can create cross coupling path very easily. Then you can have higher order filters with less number of resonators, like that. And also if you are dealing with cavity, then those larger cavity for higher order mode resonators sometimes provide us higher quality factors. So any question from others?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please directly ask the speaker, as you are doing it right now. I think whatever the questions are there, they are in the chat box.
Okay. So should I go there?
Already asked. So I cannot find any more other questions. One or two questions I can see that is related to softwares. But
Okay.
again, as Dr. Alani said that software means you may have to solve it, or you can directly contact with the software person, whoever is using HFSS or CST.
I would like to suggest to learn the software. Anyone cannot teach you software. The software learning process is you have that cookbook or the guidelines of that software, and you just start simulation and just work with those problems. Otherwise, you cannot learn a software.
Sir, what is the formula of insertion loss, sir?
Formula of insertion loss depends on structures. For filter, there is one complex expression you will get in that book of Lancaster that depends on fractional bandwidth, that depends on order, and also depends on those G parameter values. So that is the insertion loss expression for one filter. Now, if you have a look on transmission lines, for different transmission lines will have different expressions of insertion losses. So insertion loss is a property or inbuilt property of any one structure, and that actually depends on that structure property.
So please repeat the book name, sir.
Reference 1, you can see.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but be louder.
Yeah, sir, in filter now, both S21 and gain, can you take both are almost equal or different?
Gain term actually is not associated with a passive filter, right?
Yeah.
For when we are implementing some antenna or integrated antenna has that term gain. Now,
Yes,
if some amplifier or mixer is there, then again we will have the term gain. But from a passive element or passive component, we cannot expect some gain. Now the question is, antenna is also not that active element, but their radiation pattern is termed like that. That gain means that is basically the ratio of radiated power of that antenna to a omnidirectional antenna. So from that point of view, gain is associated with that antenna. But for a filter, you cannot say the filter is having some gain because there is no active element there.
yeah.
So the term insertion loss, that means the filtering structure will introduce some losses. So that is crucial point associated with one filter is the insertion loss.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question.
Yes.
What is the use of the poles, sir? Actually, we are trying to implement more number of poles, right?
Yeah. If you go for higher order filter, then what will happen? You will get sharp rejection. But at the same time, if you increase the number of resonators, you will you are actually welcoming higher losses. So higher order filter will introduce higher loss, but at the same time, they will provide sharp rejection. That's why those cross-coupled filters are popular, because they provide sharper rejection with less number of resonators. Yes.
Yeah, sharp rejection will come when we increase the transmission zero, right, sir?
Yeah, that is for cross-coupled filter. But let's forget about any cross-coupled structure. Just take one Butterworth filter or Chebyshev filter. There is no cross-coupling. All resonators are coupled in one path, so there will be no transmission zero. But if you increase the order of the filter, you can increase the rejection rate. At the same time, you can see for one, I have given the example of one trisection or one quadruplet structure. Now, if you cascade those structures, again, you will you can increase the number of transmission zeros as well as you can increase the rejection rate. So the main use of transmission zeros is getting higher rejection with less number of resonators. So one quadruplet filter, that is for 4 order, no? So It will have two transmission zeros. Just I am showing for your ease of understanding. This is one quadruplet filter. Now 4 poles are there and 2 transmission zeros. Instead of these cross coupling, if you take a filter that has only one direct path, so there is no transmission zero, the same 4 pole filter will not give you this much of sharp rejection. You can see in figure 12C. So this sharpness of rejection is due to these two transmission zeros. Probably this type of sharp rejection you will get for a normal 8 or 10 pole filters, but that rejection can be achieved with a quadruplet filter with two transmission zeros.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, they can ask, or otherwise we can, I have already given speaker email ID in the chat box.
You can directly contact me, no issue. And I will try my best to reply you.
Yes. Okay, so Dr. Arani, thank you very much for giving such a nice talk once again. And due to the time, because we started your talk today a little bit late, because we are waiting for the participants.
Okay.
So we are, without wasting much time, then I request you to start the discussions. So right now, I would like to formally introduce the speaker to the participants. Dr. Arani Ali Khan, the speaker today, that he completed his PhD degree from IIT Kharagpur in 2018. And MTech degree in microwave engineering from University of Burdwan in 2012. After that, he joined a Microwave Tube Research and Development Center, DRDO, as a research associate, and later Amphenol Omni Contact India Private Limited as antenna engineer. At present, he is working as an assistant professor in IIT Jodhpur. His research interest includes various RF microwave passive components based on planar and waveguide technologies, antennas, and power amplifiers. He is the reviewer of many famous journals like IEEE TAP, that is Transactions on Antenna and Propagations, IEEE AWPL, IET MAP, IET Electronics Letters, etc. So thanks once again, Dr. Arani, for spending your valuable time with us.
Thank you so much.
And now I would like to request Professor Abdullah to please say a vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Arani Ali Khan.
Hello.
Professor Abdullah, over to you.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear.
Dr. Arani, under whom you did the PhD was your supervisor? I think is Akhilesh Mohan? Or
No. Mrinal Kanti Mandal.
Mrinal Kanti Mandal. Oh, very good. You completed in which year?
2017 I submitted, and
fine.
I completed in 2018.
Okay. It's a very nice talk. I also enjoyed, and I hope all the participants they really enjoyed, because I heard a lot of questions. And what is suggest, I think this 1 hour or 1.5 hour talk,
this is not,
topic, right?
Not sufficient for a
not sufficient. I also realized, I was really watching that. Anyway, we will once again will invite you, because most of the participants here are I think they are research scholars. Majority are working in micro field itself. That is why there is a continuous questions it is arising, because.
I really like that questioning session.
Yeah, this platform is good. In fact, majority are research scholars, and so they are also getting benefited. Anyway, this program is a very, very, very useful at this pandemic situation.
This type of interactions is actually helping.
Definitely, it is an input to the most of the research scholars, because this is almost like an interaction something like a conference. So I am very grateful to Dr. Sugumor for organizing these events. He is very particular and he is very more, more
Energetic.
regular and enthusiastic. Is every week is somehow he is arranging one talk. I am
Yeah.
thankful and I'm grateful. I express my sincere gratitude to Sugumor, and of course for you also, Dr. Rani. Your valuable time you spend with this.
That's my pleasure.
Yeah, I accept.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for our invitation and for sparing your time.
Thank you.
And I request the participants be active. I was watching because I know even my students are also there. Nobody is asking question. So I request everybody to come forward.
But I would like to say those participants, you can contact me at any time if you face any difficulties.
Yeah, definitely we
regarding
need.
design.
In fact, we what I suggest, we can build a micro community in India. In fact,
Yes.
Because I think in fact last week talk I could not attend. We had a discussion at the same time, all APS chapter chairs all India, and including Dr. Andar and our Dr. Gua, etc. And we are also organizing regular meeting so that we want to make a common platform among this community in India. And it's a good
sharing
thing,
of ideas and experience is very important.
Exactly. Absolutely. They can share, exchange ideas, views. It's a good, we continue this platform and we expect your future cooperation also. Definitely we will invite you. Okay.
Surely.
So anyway, once again, thank you for giving this
nice
talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for the organizer, in fact, Dr. Sugumor, and to all the participants. Okay. Good night.
Thank you very much, Professor Abdullah, for saying such kind words. And I would like to inform to participants before you conclude the session that each and every time I am keeping at least 2 hours time throughout this talk. So feel free to ask the questions to the speaker, whatever doubt you have. Don't think that we are taking more time, another thing. So please, so I would like to inform you that. So you will have 2 hour time frame. If you are starting from 7:30, I am keeping it for 2 hours so that you can get half an hour to 45 minutes for only for question and answer.
And so one more thing I forgot to mention, Dr. Sugumor, and in fact, we have almost completed 1 month. More than 1 month. So all the participants, when they are live in the session, you please try to take a photograph of each talk, so that that will be nice. Not only so that we can prepare some report also for our APS activity and all.
Okay,
so
thank you.
You request the participants for turn on the camera and we make a photograph also with the presenter and all. Okay, that will be nice. So
thank you for the suggestion. I will definitely do it for
the next talk onwards. We will try to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
So we should end now.
Yes. Thanks, Dr. Arani.
If there is no question, then we should.
Definitely. Question will come you later. Don't worry.
Okay. Even later, you can send